Hey guys, this is Alex Dawn here. I hope you guys had a wonderful 2014, now that it's coming to an end. And maybe your New Year resolution includes PvP possibly. And if that's the case and you're a Storm Wizard, then you're in luck because today's video is going to be about some Storm basics that you should consider if you're trying to get into the hang of PvP in the game. Now, maybe I am not the most experienced or the best possible Storm player on the game, but I do have an okay ratio, I do have an okay rank, possibly. I was not as good first age, but, hey, I got going on that. You don't have a spell equipped, that's great. And then, so yeah, I believe this is a good place to start for all of you wondering, not knowing what to do, the very, very basics. Now, becoming successful in PvP requires a lot of different things, and those things definitely include dedication. Dedication is extremely important because if you are not dedicated, you will not get the proper gear, and I kid you not, gear is like 70% of the game. Other 20% is like your skill, and the other 10% is whether your pet triggers a fairy or, an enfeeble or whatever your pet has and stuff like that. So yes, dedication is extremely important. Gear is important. Luck can make a difference in this game, as we all know. We all had that one time when we're about to die and our pet triggers a fairy and we tank by 50 health. That happens. It happens all the time. But okay, gear-wise, gear is extremely important now that the Castle Darkmoor dungeon has come out. A lot of new gear has came out. This is also a great benefit because getting those critical amulets, it's much, much easier than farming Morgan for 20 million consecutive hours not succeeding in that at all, so that's great. But, if you are considering getting the amulet, which I really recommend you guys to do, I have not succeeded in that yet myself, but I do recommend you guys doing that. Please put in time to get the Morgana one, because even though the new Castle Darkmoor amulet, the Medallion of the Fly Gob, or whatever it's called, even though it does give 35 critical instead of the Morgana's good old 30, I believe that is a higher percentage in it also, but ignore that, dude. But I do believe that the Morgana one is better because not only gives better cards, but the block is extremely important on Storm. When you only have, you should have about 4,000 health in PvP now on a Storm. When you have 4K health in a PvP match, that extra 10 block can either be a difference between an insane bolt landing and an insane bolt not landing. And then trust me, if you block an insane, you're good. If you don't, then you can practically go to your menu chat and hit the where's that thing and go to your press the good match button because you're practically done. So yeah, get the Morgana amulet if you can. Put the extra hours. If you want to team up, you can leave me a description, leave me a comment. We can meet up in the game. I got a farm for that also, so that'd be cool. Now let me get going on the hats. Hats. The two main hats that you guys should consider having are definitely the Hood of Desert Rains. That is the one that comes from Chrysalis and crafting. The reason why I like that hat is because when you do 3v3 matches and 4v4 matches, and pretty often even in 2v2 matches, your odds are you are going versus an elemental hitter. 2v2 is currently filled with balance hitters, so maybe not as much as in 3v3 and 4v4, but that hat gives the highest critical I have personally seen on the game. I don't think I've seen a hat with a higher critical than 194. 194 crit is also 39%, which is practically 40%. 40% is more than 1 in 3 crits. So just from a hat, that's great in my opinion. That's hat number 1. Yes, you need that hat if you are planning on PvPing. And hat number 2 is Malistair's hat. A lot of times, especially now that PvP has changed, you are incapable of what is known as setting up for your opponents. You don't know who your opponents is, and then this hat does not give 20 resist to elemental schools, but it does give 10 resist to every single possible school. If you don't know your opponent, you don't, especially in 2v2, if you don't know your opponent, using this hat could be possibly very risky. If you have going versus a balance having no resist, if you were to use the Hood of Desert Rains, is definitely not as good as having 10 resist from the Malister's Call of Flux. That's a really interesting word. Yes, Malister's Call of Flux, I would just call that Malister's Cap because it's much easier to pronounce, does have less critical than Hood of Desert Rains, but, the resist is nice. I'd like to mention that something rare that Malisters called Flux gives is Power Pips. When the Malister gear came out, I was pretty surprised that they're giving Power Pip, and then the Power Pip chances are increasing crazy because, Storm is that school that always gets accuracy in their gear, not pips, and knowing that they made a hat that gives pips, I was pretty shocked. I like that very much. The other thing is they both have the exact same damages, so that's nice. Keep in mind that Malister's cap does not provide 7 storm accuracy that the Hood of Desert Rains provides, but if you are using the Malister robe, which gives like 26, I believe, that makes up for it. Another big important part of PvP right now is piercing. If you guys have any knowledge on PvP, then you know how the way Jades work. If you don't, then I'll go over that really quickly. I don't remember which pack exactly it is, but they have gear that's called like Jade Hood, Jade Robe of Mystery, and Jade Boots. I don't have the exact names, it's practically more or less what they're called. And then if a wizard is equipped with that gear and they have a pet with Spellproof and Spell Defy, they are at about 76 or 77 resist to all schools. Yes, they have no damage, but they are what I consider the unkillable schools because they have as much resist as a shield gives, and then fighting through a shield is no fun. So that's difficult. So yeah, piercing is important because I don't know if you guys know what piercing is, but piercing is it basically if you have 7% piercing like this hat gives, and you are hitting your enemy, it means that your enemy will lose 7% of their resistance. That resistance can come from a shield, it can come from gear, it can come from fortify, it comes from practically anything that gives them resist. It can come from a pet also, it's just 7% of resist that they now don't have, which is, I find that pretty important. 7 pierce is a lot, and especially when you go into those PvP matches facing those opponents who have, storm immunity, then you definitely want to have piercing, because if you don't have piercing, you're hitting a big fat 0 damage on him, and then there's nothing more frustrating than getting a Bugs is the new storm spell. I don't know what it's exactly called. It's called Glow Bug Squall. I don't just call it bug because it has the word bug in it. If you're using bug, there's nothing more frustrating than hitting 0 damage when you're expecting a GG, so that's a big deal. That's Anadon right there. You guys can say hi. And then, so yeah, the 2 hats you want to have are definitely Malister's Cold Flux, which drops from the 3rd portion of Castle Darkmoor. Obviously by Malister, as is insisted in the name. Do not confuse them with the Dragon Spear Malister. I don't know why you would do that. Even there's a 50 level gap in between their gear. Do not go farm the Malister and Dragon Spire. That's a big fat waste of time. Go to Castle Darkmoor. If you do not have the quest, go to Dworgen. He's the Death Professor. He gives you the quest. Get going on that. The Hood of Desert Rains is a craftable hat. You have to be done with a Steka crafting, I believe, to craft this one. Then you go to Chrysalis, and I don't exactly recall who the guy who gives the recipe is, but I can put that in the description once I find it. Yeah, so these 2 hats are a must, must, must. And then if you were to pick having one, I would. God, I don't know. They're really different from each other. One is accuracy, one is pips. You need both. You need both. Just trust me, you need both. Ever since the new dungeon came out, the Malister robe has been extremely overpowered, which is a good thing, because, before when we had the Hades gear, we either had the Zeus robe, which gives accuracy, or we had the Black Thunder robe, which gives resist, and then this robe kind of combines it, and then takes it to the extreme and gives you 25% accuracy, which almost puts you at 100% accuracy with your basic storm spell, and it gives that 14 resist, which is really, really nice. This robe is wonderful, 115 critical. I couldn't ask for a better robe myself. Practically is as good as it gets. If you're PvPing, I'm pretty sure this is the only robe you need. Notice that it also gives power pips, which is really, really nice. Another thing that this robe gives is the 2% shadow pip. For those of you who do not know what that is, it means that you are 2% more likelier. I'm not sure if I can say it like that. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say. You are 2% more likelier to get a shadow pip. Shadow pips they're a big deal, I mean, for example, Glowbug is a really powerful spell. It hits more than Sirens. It costs 5 pips, not 9, but it requires that 1 shadow pip. So, anyway, you can get that shadow pip, you definitely want to get it. So you need the 2 hats, you need the Malister's cloak. Boots. Man, in the past, a lot of people believed in what was the heavy rain slippers. Yes, I do have them. Yes, I've used them in PvP. Yes, they did help. They did make a difference, but I don't believe they're what you should be seeking right now anymore. They are level 80. They're expired. You don't need these anymore. But if you're farming, yes, you can have those boots. Every storm should have some critical boots. Yes, they're fun to farm with, but I would not recommend using these in your PvP matches. Look, they don't even match the color of my gear anymore because I don't use these anymore. Um, Notice that there's a big trend of me having Malister gear because Malister gear is overpowering right now. So yes, Malister gear all the way, especially for Storm. Now, the Malister boots of Flux, one surprising thing that I found is that it gives 26 damage. The other heavy rain slippers only gave 20, so 26 is a big difference. It's extra 6% of damage, and then, 6%, you believe it or not, is a lot of damage. When you're hitting like 2,000 damage, that is an additional 120 damage that you're taking, and I cannot count the amount of times that I was in a PvP match, and then someone tanks my hit with like 80 health. It's the worst thing ever. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, if I equipped these boots, I would have that extra damage. They would have died, but I didn't, so I shouldn't be thinking that way. So yes, you want to have Malister boots of Flux, Malister boots. Lizard boots. Yes, they are. They're also crafted. They come from Azteca. Now, the thing about these boots is they give a very similar block to Malister, although Malister block is a little higher, and except the fact that the Malister boots are universal, where the Lizard House boots are not. They're specifically for Storm, and from all the balance block is actually nice on them. But it does not give the resist that the balance resist that the Malister Boots of Flux can give to a balance. So if you are, if you're 100% positive that your opponent you're fighting is Storm, then yeah, I would go with Lizard Boots, but keep in mind that Malister Boots do give more pips, and they give that extra shadow pip percentage. They actually give a lot more damage, 13%. I have not used the Lizard House Warrior Boots in PvP in a long time, mostly because ever since Test Realm came out with the new update that you cannot, see who your opponent is, I don't want to risk fighting in Ice or, a Myth, or any Myths are not very common, but, any other school than Storm. And then it's horrible to have 100 Storm resist and like 10 Fire resist, and you're versus a Fire hitter, and that Storm resist is completely pointless. You don't want to do that. So yeah, Malister boots. So let's see. Let's put this hat on. That's the one I started talking about. The Malister robe. Malister boots, wands. Staff of the Dragon's Maw. I don't think there's more argument in that in PvP. The block is 95 together with the 105 and the boots. You're looking at 200 block. To all schools, 200 block is a nice percentage. You should be blocking. No, maybe not all hits because you have those OP storms who have like 700 critical. You will not be blocking every single hit, but you will be definitely blocking more with this wand. And if you're using the Hades wand, one thing I like about the Staff of the Dragon's Maw is that it also gives 13 Storm Piercing. As I mentioned Piercing earlier, Piercing is a huge impact in this game currently, mostly because, people are using their Storm Ward, Stormproof, Spell Defy, all those, even Storm Defy pets that give them like 100, 130 resist, and if you don't have the piercing, if you don't have the strike, you are not getting anywhere. So yes, don't even consider Hades in PvP anymore unless you're going full critical, unless you know what you're doing. But please stick to the Staff of Dragon's Maw for the purpose of the block. And the piercing, believe it or not, the Hades staff gives, how much critical is that? The Hades staff, 5%, and that gives 21%. The Malister wand gives us oh wow, they're the exact same percentage. See, why would you be using the Hades staff if it gives you the exact same critical as the Malister wand, except the Malister wand gives you much more piercing. It's illogical. It makes no sense. So yes, do that. Now what are we on? We're on Athens daggers. You call them what you want to call them. They're the pointy knives that are not even knives. They're just things that I don't know where your wizard keeps, but he keeps them somewhere. Duelist Fatal Razor. That ever since the tournaments came out, that thing has been used repetitively. The reason I believe why it has been used so commonly is because people's understanding of critical was terrible back then. People did not know what they were doing with their critical. And then it kind of just stayed, you know. It's I like this dagger. I'll be honest with you. It's the health on it is really nice. Health really counts in Storm, in my opinion. The damage is nice, even though the Morgan shadow of the blade, Morgan's blade does give higher damage. But this thing, I mean, the 40%, not 40%, 40 critical is it's a nice start. It's the same as the heavy rain slippers have. It's something, you want to build up some critical, but you definitely do not want to go 100, put all your work into critical. Critical is an advantage. No, how should I word this? Critical is not your damage. Critical is, okay, you do not want to rely on your critical, you want to rely on your damage. Critical is just that one extra boost that, will prevent you from having to hit again. But you don't want to rely on critical because critical is unreliable. It's completely unreliable. Even if you have a 99, even if you have 100% storm critical, you will not land 100% of the time. Your opponents have block. Yes, maybe you will see the word critical appear on top of your head every time, but you will not land a critical every time. So please, please, please don't rely on critical. But yes, I would, recommend using this AFAME. Big thing that was bugging me before the Malister gear came out is that it only gave 9 pips, and then before the gear that I used did not give me as much pips as it does now, but now that we get our power pip percentages from the hat, robe, and boots, it's not as big of a deal. So yes, that. Now don't make fun of me, I do not have any of the good amulets. This is the extent of what I have currently. I gotta get going on that. I have the relic of the fetid. Is that even a word? I have the relic of the. I'm gonna just call it the relic. I'm gonna just call it the. No, I can't use that word. I'm gonna just call it the weak amulet. I have the weak amulet from Malice there. Yes, go ahead up, Morgan. Go spend 48 hours farming her. You want that amulet. But if you are not capable of doing that, then just go run the second part of Castle Darkmoor. Farm that Shane Von Shane. I think that's his name. Go farm that vampire, get your 35 crit amulet, because the 35 one is much better than this one. But, if you have a choice, if you are deciding between the new Castle Darkmoor one or the Morganth one, listen to me, go get your Morganth amulet. Rings. There's big variety in rings, actually. There's the Alpha and the Omega ring, which I like. It's a really nice ring. The pips on it are pretty nice. It gives almost 400 health, a 30 universal block, 10 damage. It's has everything a storm needs right in it. They also have a very similar ring, the tournament ring. The only difference is that the pips are almost the same, I believe, if not the same. But the difference is it does give a little less block, and the income that the Alpha and Omega ring does not come on the tournament ring. The tournament ring only has outcome, not income. Unless you are planning on spamming healing currents in PvP on your teammates, I do not think you want more outcome than you want income, which is why another reason why I like this blade more than that blade is because I get 9 income, not 27 outcome. What am I gonna do with that outcome? That outcome, you don't. A storm doesn't really heal much in PvP other than his pet healing him. That's the extent of your healing. I mean, yeah, you can have a healing current or 1 or 2 in your deck for emergencies, but you are not. You are trying to kill, not. You are not surviving. You are making the other team not survive. You're preventing survival, not surviving. Your survival is dependent on your teammates, not on you. So do not focus on that. Pets. I am currently starting a video on making a good pet. Since I could remember, ever since level 90 came out, people have been really into critical talents, but in my opinion, those days are gone, man. They're gone. The way I always looked at pets is a pet needs damage, damage, damage. If you have the possibility of getting a pet with triple damage or something like that, you know, you want to build up some damage on your pet. Uh, you want to have fairy on your pet possibly, or even healing current. You know, if you want healing current, go for healing current. But your pet needs more damage than it needs critical. You know, your damage you can have, if you have 3 damage talents, I mean, on your pet, if you have Storm Dealer, Pain Giver, and Storm Giver, that I said was right, Storm Dealer, Pain Giver, Storm Giver, yeah, if you have those, that is about 21 extra damage. You know, and if you were to have Storm Assailant, you know, and Critical Hitter, and then Storm Hitter, or something like that, it's only like 3 or 4% of your critical that you can be getting, and then I mean, you know, what sounds better to you, 21% damage that you always get, or 4% critical that, you know, you will not even make a difference 96% of the time. So would you rather get something that works every time, or something that doesn't work 96% of the time? You know, it's your opinion, but, you know, I'm stating what you should do clearly out there, hopefully. Decks. I am not very organized in decks, but you guys have to craft the new decks that came out with Castle Darkmoor. I am currently working on that. But until you do that, you want to have the deck of Shadow Lightning. The extra pip in the beginning surprisingly makes a huge difference. You know, it's the difference between being able to set a hit out first round or something, you know. But, you know, 1 pip is a lot. You know, every pip counts. Every pip counts in PvP. You definitely want to get the pips you can, even if it's just 1 in the start. The 7% it's not percent. The 7 critical rating is a percentage, you know, if you're, you know, as I said, 4% on a pet is not worth it because you're using up 3 talents for it. But if you either can have that 7 or not have that 7, why would you not have it if you can have it? So that's it for what does Anna do? And I think she has nothing to do. Anyway, yeah, that's a bad deck. Don't look at that. So yeah, gear-wise, this is the gear video. I can make a PvP logics video. So you want a Hood of Desert Rains, you want Malister's Cap. Here are the stats for both of them right here. You can pause the video if you want to look at those. Here is the Malister robe. Again, you can pause the video if you want to look at it, write it down, do whatever you wish. Malister boots are right here. Here are the lizards. I'll put them next to each other if you want to look at both of them. Here are the brimstones. Oh, I forgot. I didn't cover those, did I? So here are the Hades brimstone boots. I do not think that they have been used much recently by many people. Again, the damage on them is 10% less than on the Malister boots, but one thing that I do really like on them is the 12 piercing. I mean, I guess it's not one thing that I like on them. I guess the storm block rating is pretty extraordinary also if you think about it. You know, 141 storm block rating is awesome, but again, if you don't know your opponent, having 141 storm block rating is no use versus a fire, where the Malister boots a flex, it gives you block for everything. You know, that's a big difference. So yeah, here are the boots. The wand, here is the wand you want to be using. Again, you want to get the Duelist Fatal Razor. For those of you who don't know how to get that, you need, I believe it's 5,000 arena tickets. And then there is some animal, I don't even know what animal it is, right outside the PvP arena that sells these for 5,000 arena tickets. The ring, I believe, is also 5,000, the tournament ring. Amulets, as I said, either go for Morgan, which you should get, or, you know, if you don't have the time to get the Morgan one, please get the 35 one from Shane Von Shane in part 2. Again, from what I've heard, the 35 crit amulet does not drop in the Malister part of Castle Darkmoor. It drops from the second part of it, so don't waste your time farming Shane Von Shane in the third part of Castle Darkmoor, because I don't believe it drops from what I've heard, but I could be wrong. But I am 100% positive that it does drop from part 2. So if you're farming for the amulet, go to part 2. Rings, you have Alpha. Alpha is, you know, Alpha all the way. And then, but if you do know your opponent is Storm, you know, you might as well go with this one if you want the resist. I forgot to cover this ring before also. Sorry about that. If you do know your opponent, then definitely, if you know your opponent, take advantage of it. Sure, people are gonna make fun of you or say, "Ha ha, you set up, way to play cheap," and stuff like that. But it's a win or a loss. They lose, they lose. You win, you win. Gotta think about it that way. So that's that, and then that's practically it for what I have for the gear video about Storm. Again, maybe, I'm a pretty reliable source if I don't have all my gear on, these are not my full stats. I am a pretty reliable person when it comes to Storm. Again, this is my rank. Maybe I'm not, the best Storm on the game. But I'm definitely not the worst Storm on the game also. Maybe I will not get you to a rank of 5,000, but I will definitely get you to a rank of Warlord 900 if you wish. If you have any questions, you can leave comments. Leave a question in the comments. I try to look at that as I can, and then I'll be making other videos, especially one explain the way critical works because there's a lot of misunderstanding on that. I am currently in the process of making a video on how to create pets. That's very important. Pets are really important in the game. You might want to get that going. I'll be making videos about other schools. One school I will not be making a video about is probably Myth because I do not have a Myth wizard. I have every other school. They're mostly all in the 90s 100 zone, so I can talk about those schools if you guys want. You guys can leave me comments if you have a specific school you'd like me to cover. Even though I am not an expert on Myth, I have some basic knowledge that I can share out with you guys if you're interested in that. So please leave a comment if you have tips or ideas or comments of how I can make my videos better, or how I can change anything to make it more clear for you guys, the viewers. Or if you have any ideas on what my next video should be about, give me a comment, leave that in there. If you guys need a video with knowing how to clear a dungeon quickly, I can probably do that also. Yeah, guys, anything, let me know. Alright, Alex out.